Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and I'm going to continue to talk about the disastrous and devastating terrorist attack in Pehelgam, Kashmir, as a consequence of which 26 innocent people lost their lives, and the geopolitics of this region has been put on a very serious alert. India has started responding, and as I had said in my first presentation, which I did in Hindi, that the key question really will be how serious a response and shall we say action that India takes, especially with regards to Pakistan. Clearly, the operation was very complicated, and it is difficult to imagine that it could have happened without foreign support. So in this conversation, I'm going to do two or three things. I'm going to basically summarize the responses, both international and Indian governments to the Pehelgam attacks. We know that a front for Lashkar-e-Taiba has claimed credit for it, and they have been very specific as to why they made this attack. They said they made this attack because the Indian government is changing the domestic population, I guess, the demographic profile of Kashmir by bringing in people from outside the state and getting them to settle down in the state of Kashmir. So basically, they are accusing the Indian government of bringing about 85,000 or 83,000 people from outside and basically reducing the percentage of Muslims or Kashmiris who live in the state of Kashmir. So that they say is the primary motivation for them, and they claim that they are acting on behalf of the state of Kashmir and for the people of Kashmir. So this is what additional information has come out as far as the motivation for this particular attack is concerned. But I will talk about the response from the Indian government so far and what is really going to happen. The key question is there going to be a military response directed towards Pakistan? And if there is a military response, what kind of response? Whether it's going to be a surgical attack, or is it going to be multiple attacks on multiple targets, or it will be something that could basically be an attempt to convince to the domestic population in India that India is taking a military action while actually not taking anything serious, so giving Pakistan the option not to retaliate. So I think I will go through all those options that are available to India, and then we'll see what really begins to happen, because the Indian government's response is still being deliberated. The Prime Minister had a meeting with the national security team, and he's having a meeting right now. As I record this, he's having an all-party meeting, I think, which is being chaired by the Defense Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh. So I think by the end of this day or by tomorrow, we will get a particularly clear idea. And if it's also going to be some covert operations, then we will probably not know about the covert retaliation. I mean, there might be some idea as to what is happening, but the government probably is not going to talk about it. But before all of that, please subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. So to summarize India's response, really, so far, the response is just placeholder. It's as if India is doing something and signaling that it's very offended. The Prime Minister cut his trip to Saudi Arabia short. He was there for 2 days. He came back early. Even Rahul Gandhi, who was visiting the United States, he also cut his trip short, and people came back to Delhi. That was nice to see that everybody were coming back to the national capital in this moment, in this hour of crisis. It is clearly a crisis because it continues to show that India remains unstable. It is a target of terrorism. There is domestic disharmony in the country. And much of the narrative that Kashmir has become normalized after the abolition of the Article 370 from the Indian Constitution, that narrative now does not stand scrutiny, because it is very clear that, see, what 370 did was to take away security from the local police and the state of and the government of Kashmir. It also took away the government of Kashmir. It went away. The statehood was lost, Kashmir. So basically, since the abolition of 370 article, Kashmir and that whole region has been directly under the supervision of the central government. So the failure of intelligence, the failure of maintaining security now is 100% the responsibility goes to the central government, and you can't blame the local police or the local authorities or the local government for this failure anymore. So that is why it is also, I think, caused a lot of disturbance and has put the Modi government on the back foot with regards to this particular episode, because it not only punctures the narrative that everything is normal in Kashmir, but it also punctures the narrative that the central government is capable of providing security better than state governments. The Kashmiris' response was fabulous. Most of the tourists who have spoken to the media, while they talked about the horrors of the terrorist attack, where the terrorists very curiously only killed men, which is very interesting. Maybe they see this as a military operation and not as a terrorist attack, even though they were killing unarmed civilians. They also made a big deal about emphasizing the fact that they were only killing Hindus, even though they did kill one Muslim called Adil Shah, who was a pony person who handles horses, I think, for horse rides there in Pehelgam. But they did make a big deal about making people recite Islamic slogans like the Kalima. And when they could not do that, they were killed. So basically sending the message that we are only killing Hindus. I think this is an attempt to go back to that time where Hindus were targeted and driven out of Kashmir to reduce the Hindu population of Kashmir. So I think this is targeting first Hindu tourists, to reduce the tourists, and then it's quite possible that if unchecked, there might be more attacks on local Hindus in the state of Kashmir, if we are to believe what the terrorists said, that the motivation was the changing demographics of the state of Kashmir or the area of Kashmir after the abolition of Article 370. The Indian government's response so far has been just, like I said, they are placeholders. They have reduced the strength of the Pakistani embassy, told the military advisors to get lost, declared some of the senior members of the diplomatic staff as persona non grata. They canceled visas of most Pakistanis who came here and told them to leave by 1st of May. Those who came on SARC visa exemption programs were also asked to leave within 48 hours. The border was completely closed. Now there is no border crossings at some interesting positions, and they have also, the question remains whether the ceasefire that has been in place on the India's western front between the India-Pakistan border since 2021, will that hold? So far, it is still holding the ceasefire that was negotiated in 2021. Now, the international response was overwhelmingly against terrorism, and more than 50 countries have expressed their support to India, especially Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates. It clearly shows that while India is clearly accusing Pakistan of being responsible for that, especially after General Asim Munir's speech, which he gave last week, which I trashed in one of my shows. You should watch that. It is very clear that this is clearly an operation that has been supported from external coordination, etc. So given the fact that India continues to get a lot of support on Kashmir from Muslim countries, must be heartening for the government and must be disheartening for Pakistan, because increasingly Pakistan is getting isolated, not just in the world, but also in the Muslim world, even in OIC, on the issue of Kashmir. Now nobody speaks. Erdogan used to speak, and then sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he does. Turkish policy is a bit inconsistent, to say the least, on the Kashmir issue. But other than occasionally mentioning that in international forums, Turkey does not do much either. So let's not beat around the bush anymore. Let's get to the point. Is there going to be a military response? India is definitely going to have a full-on diplomatic response. You can trust Dr. Jaishankar to go after Pakistan at every international forum, paint it as the epicenter of terrorism and all of that. That is going to happen. Pakistan is going to face a massive diplomatic assault from India, wherever India goes. And clearly the level of respect that India enjoys in the international forum is right up here. And I'm holding my left hand so low that it is not even in the frame to show where Pakistan's international stature is. So Pakistan is not going to be a credible voice in international forums and will struggle to defend its position that it only provides diplomatic and moral support to the Kashmiri insurgency. So as far as the diplomatic assault is concerned, you can bet India is going to do everything that it potentially can in isolating Pakistan and painting it as a terrorist organization. The chances of renewing cricket or Pakistani cricketers playing in the IPL or even trade resuming between India and Pakistan now, whatever suggestions were coming in the past, you can forget about that. So there's going to be no normalization of relations with Pakistan unless this is resolved, like I said in my previous show, that Pakistan fully cooperates with India in identifying who in Pakistan supported this and to go after them. Now, coming to the military assault, India has several options. So I think the best option for India would be to identify training camps of Lashkar-e-Taiba and other groups and make a surgical attack on those groups and provide enough evidence to the international community. The US and its satellites will definitely be monitoring the attack. So there will be an independent confirmation from the United States about the targets. And there are now also commercial satellites which monitor intelligence-like data. And so you can bet that some of the major newspapers in the West will have independent data about the targets and if India does make an attack. So India, the best option would be to identify terrorist camps, training camps, anything associated with Lashkar-e-Taiba and groups like that, and hit them hard and really hit them hard. And be able to provide evidence to the international community that it did do. So there is a lot of sympathy in the world for attacks on terrorist-related groups. The world is sick of all of this violence that is going on from non-state actors as well as state actors. So as far as governments are concerned, India will definitely get a lot of support for it. But the question really remains is, if India does do a surgical attack, or just attacks some targets in Pakistan, there's a pretty strong likelihood that Pakistan is going to retaliate as it did in the past. Okay, India lost a plane. One of India's planes was shot down in Pakistan and a pilot was taken captive for a brief moment when Imran Khan returned. Captain Abhijit, I think his name was, if I remember correctly, returned him to India. So it is quite possible that if India makes an attack, then Pakistan will retaliate. If you remember a couple of years ago, Iran attacked certain targets inside Pakistan, and Pakistan immediately retaliated against Iran, and there was no war, even though there were talks that, oh, this could escalate. So what we might see is that India makes an attack on Pakistan with enough force to be able to convince the country that it did take a serious response. Now the question remains is how seriously Pakistan will respond to it. If there are casualties on the India side, then there is the danger of escalation. So these are two nuclear powers, and there is always a threat that this could escalate and get out of hand. The mood in the country is very, there's a lot of rage in the country right now, and it is all directed towards Pakistan, and people are very dismayed. Some are in a state of obviously shock and trauma, while others are just they really want a lot of action from the Modi government. The Modi government is in a difficult position, no doubt about it, because its Kashmir policy has failed to some extent. Yes, the Kashmiris came out and protested this. There was a Band in Kashmir organized by Kashmiris. Most of the people in Kashmir have completely distanced themselves from this attack. So you can't actually blame the Kashmiris for this attack. But clearly the government has failed in intelligence-wise in terms of anticipating such a target. Even a security failure, the location. One of my watchers on the previous show said that he was in the area recently on a family vacation, and he concluded as a civilian, as a tourist, that the Baisaran region, the meadow where the attack took place, was not safe and there was not enough security. So he did not take his family there. You can read that in the comments of my previous show. And so apparently there are soft targets like this available to terrorists in Kashmir. And so this is clearly, for the Modi government, this is something that they have to deal with, and that they are on the back foot, that their policy on Kashmir is not proving to be as successful as they thought it would. Especially so far, the biggest measure of success was the large number of tourists who were going to Kashmir. So the Modi government was able to say, look, we have normalized Kashmir, lakhs of tourists are coming. Now, if this particular attack dissuades tourists from going to Kashmir, then that narrative fails. So therefore, the Modi government is on the back foot. The second thing is, does the Modi government want a war with Pakistan? That's a serious question. In this time, with so much of turbulence in the global economy, there's no doubt that the Indian economy is going to slow down this year. And if the tariff and the bilateral trade deal with Donald Trump and the US does not come through, then it could slow down India's growth rate. And overall, if Donald Trump persists with his tariff policy, it will not only slow down growth in the US, but the entire global economy will slow down. So India is going to have a lot of other problems to deal with. Would India want to add a whole issue of having a war with Pakistan? For Pakistan, a limited war with India might actually be beneficial for Asim Munir, the general, and this country government, because this right now, the government of Pakistan is seen as illegitimate by a large section of the population who support Imran Khan, who is in prison. They feel that the election has been rigged. They feel that the army, the anti-army sentiment has never been this strong in Pakistan. And the unity of the Punjabis and the army more or less fractured as a result of the entire Imran Khan fiasco. So for the army, a limited war, which does not damage Pakistan a lot, but does not damage the military at large, but allows Pakistan to say that, oh, we hit back just as hard, and it might unite the public, the Pakistani public, behind the Pakistani government, this current government of Shahbaz Sharif, and the military itself. So for Pakistan, a limited war might be even a boon. But a war that lasts long and completely undermines Pakistani economy and targets several of its assets, etc., a devastating war like the one between Russia and Ukraine, then that will be bad for Pakistan, definitely, but also for Indian economy. So in that sense, for the Modi government, this is very tricky as to what decision it takes. It has its own rhetoric, and for the last 2-3 years, Modi and Rajnath Singh and all of these BJP leaders have been talking about taking Gilgit-Baltistan back by force, and all these hints that we are going to get back all of the Pak-occupied Kashmir. So they have raised their anticipation of the Indian population that supports them. So this is their chance to take back POK if they are serious about it. Pakistan has given them a serious provocation. But India has to be very careful. If it is seen as overplaying its hand, then it could lose the goodwill that it has in the international community. So it's going to be a tricky decision for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to make, and we will see what comes out. And I'm coming to you from Hyderabad. I'm so happy to be back in my former hometown. And I just landed. I'm still too tired and to even experience jet lag, I guess. So I will continue to keep an eye on the developments. I'm here to attend the Bharat Summit, a conference that is being organized by the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Revant Reddy. It's about delivering justice. It is bringing in about 300 to 450 progressive thinkers, intellectuals, scholars, leaders of political parties to Hyderabad to discuss the idea of delivering justice and what justice means. And justice is of different kinds: gender justice, social justice, economic justice, distributive justice. So it is going to be an interesting conference. I will continue to talk to you about what's happening here at the summit, but also will continue to keep an eye on the Pehelgam terrorist attack and its aftermath. So please stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel Khanversations if you have not already done so. Like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care.